When a humble nanny takes a job caring for a millionaire's twin daughters, she expects it to be just another position. But one terrifying night will test her courage, expose dangerous secrets, and reveal that sometimes the strongest families are the ones we choose. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe. Sarah Mitchell stood at the wrought iron gates of 1247 Maple Grove, her worn leather bag clutched tightly against her side. The Harrison mansion loomed before her, its Georgian architecture a stark reminder of the world she was about to enter, one far removed from her modest apartment in the east side of town. Deep breaths, she whispered to herself, pressing the intercom button. A crisp voice responded immediately, "State your name and purpose." "Sarah Mitchell. I'm the new nanny for the Harrison twins." The gates swung open with a quiet hum, revealing a winding driveway lined with perfectly manicured maple trees. As she walked up the path, Sarah caught her reflection in a decorative fountain, her simple blue dress and practical shoes suddenly feeling inadequate against the grandeur surrounding her. But there was no time for self-doubt. The Harrison twins needed someone who could give them stability after a string of nannies who'd quit within months, and Sarah was determined to be that person. The massive front door opened before she could knock. A tall woman in her 50s, wearing an impeccably pressed black dress, regarded her with sharp green eyes. "Mrs. Cooper, head housekeeper," she announced, her tone carrying a hint of frost. "You're 3 minutes early. Follow me." Sarah followed Mrs. Cooper through a foyer larger than her entire apartment, their footsteps echoing against marble floors. The housekeeper's rapid-fire orientation felt more like a list of restrictions than a welcome. "The East Wing is strictly off-limits. Mr. Harrison's study is private. The girls' schedules are posted in the kitchen. Any deviation must be approved by me." A burst of laughter interrupted Mrs. Cooper's monologue. Two identical faces peeked around a corner, dark curls, bright blue eyes, and mischievous smiles that made Sarah's heart instantly warm. "Emma, Lily, return to your lessons immediately." Mrs. Cooper's voice cracked like a whip. But instead of retreating, the twins emerged fully. One of them, Sarah couldn't tell which yet, stepped forward with a curious tilt of her head. "Are you our new nanny?" Before Mrs. Cooper could intervene, Sarah knelt to meet the girls at eye level. "I am. I'm Sarah. And you must be." "I'm Emma," said the one who'd spoken first. "She's Lily. She's 12 minutes younger." Lily rolled her eyes. "Emma never lets me forget those 12 minutes." Sarah noticed the subtle differences between them, Emma's more assertive stance, Lily's gentler expression. "Well," she said, reaching into her bag, "I brought something for both of you." She pulled out 2 identical handmade bracelets, woven from colorful threads. "I thought we could all wear one. See?" She showed them the one already on her wrist. "When you miss each other during separate activities, you can look at your bracelet and remember you're connected." The twins' eyes lit up, but Mrs. Cooper cleared her throat sharply. "Miss Mitchell, gift-giving must be approved." "Let her be, Mrs. Cooper." A deep voice came from behind them. Sarah turned to see Blake Harrison himself descending the grand staircase, his commanding presence filling the foyer. He studied the scene before him, his expression unreadable. The girls seemed to like her approach. Sarah stood quickly, smoothing her dress. "Mr. Harrison, thank you for this opportunity." He held up a hand, his attention already shifting to his phone. "Mrs. Cooper will handle the details. Girls, back to your lessons. We'll see how this works out." He disappeared down a hallway, leaving a wake of silence. But Sarah barely registered his dismissive attitude. She was too focused on the way Emma and Lily were already slipping the bracelets onto each other's wrists, their earlier laughter replaced by quiet wonder. Mrs. Cooper sighed. "Come along, Miss Mitchell. There's much to cover and clearly," she glanced pointedly at the bracelets, "many rules to review." As Sarah followed the housekeeper deeper into the mansion, she caught a glimpse of the twins showing each other their bracelets, heads bent together in conspiratorial joy. In that moment, despite Mrs. Cooper's frostiness and Blake Harrison's indifference, Sarah knew she was exactly where she needed to be. She just had no idea how much that certainty would be tested in the weeks to come. 3 weeks into her new position, Sarah sat cross-legged on the floor of the twins' playroom, surrounded by the aftermath of what she called Creative Hurricane Thursday. Art supplies were scattered everywhere, but the mess was worth it. The girls had finally opened up about their mother. "She used to paint with us too," Lily said quietly, adding another stroke to her watercolor. "Before she got sick." Emma, typically the more outspoken twin, remained unusually focused on her own painting. Sarah noticed her bracelet, the one from that first day, twisting anxiously around her wrist. Sometimes it helps to paint what we're feeling, Sarah suggested gently, even if we don't show it to anyone else. Emma's brush paused. Mrs. Cooper says we shouldn't talk about Mom. It upsets Dad. A throat cleared from the doorway. Sarah turned to find Blake Harrison himself standing there, his customary suit replaced by casual weekend wear. The sight was so unexpected that it took her a moment to register his frown. Miss Mitchell, a word? His tone left no room for discussion. In his study, a room Sarah had never entered before, Blake stood by the window, his back to her. Mrs. Cooper tells me you've been deviating from the established schedule. Sarah straightened her spine. Yes, sir. I believe rigid structures aren't always. And the girls' grades? They've improved actually, especially in creative writing and their rooms are messier. They're learning to express themselves. And this morning, he turned suddenly, Emma asked to take art classes. She hasn't mentioned art since. He trailed off, his stern facade cracking just slightly. Sarah took a careful breath. Mr. Harrison, suppressing their memories of their mother won't help them heal. They need to know it's okay to miss her, to talk about her, to feel whatever they're feeling. Blake's hand clenched on the window frame. And what do you know about it? I lost my father when I was 12. The words came quietly but firmly. Everyone tried to distract me, to keep me busy, to help me move on. But what I needed was someone to listen. To let me remember him without feeling guilty about making others sad. The silence stretched between them. Finally, Blake moved to his desk and picked up a small frame Sarah hadn't noticed before. He held it out to her. It was a painting, vibrant wildflowers in a meadow. Claire did this, he said. The girl's mother. She taught art at the community college before. He set the frame down carefully. The last thing she painted was a similar scene, one for each of the girls. They're in storage. I thought seeing them would be too painful. Sarah watched him struggle with the memory. Maybe it's time to bring them out. Not to cause pain but to celebrate her. To let the girls know that missing her is natural, and that creating art can be a way to feel close to her. Blake studied her for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, a small smile touched his lips. Mrs. Cooper also mentioned unauthorized bracelet-making sessions, movie nights instead of study hall, and something called Wacky Science Wednesdays. Sarah felt her cheeks warm. The experiments are educational, I promise. And the girls are happier than I've seen them in 2 years. He sat heavily in his chair. I've been distant. Work was easier than facing their grief, their questions. But seeing Emma's face light up when she talked about art class this morning, a commotion in the hallway interrupted them. The study door burst open as Emma and Lily tumbled in, clutching their paintings. Dad, Sarah, look what they froze, suddenly remembering the study was off limits. But Blake did something that made Sarah's heart skip. He laughed. Actually laughed. Come here, you two. Show me what you've created. As the girls excitedly shared their artwork, Sarah noticed something remarkable. All 4 of them, the twins, Blake and herself, were wearing the colorful friendship bracelets she'd made that first day. Even Blake, who must have received his from one of his daughters, had it peeking out from under his casual shirt sleeve. Miss Mitchell, Blake called as she turned to leave them to their family moment. The art classes, arrange them. And perhaps. He glanced at the painting on his desk. It's time to bring those other paintings out of storage. Sarah nodded, her throat tight with emotion. As she closed the study door behind her, she nearly collided with Mrs. Cooper, who had obviously been listening. But instead of the disapproval Sarah expected, the housekeeper's eyes were suspiciously bright. Well, Mrs. Cooper said gruffly, I suppose we could adjust the schedule to accommodate art classes. She straightened her already perfect posture. And perhaps I could show you where those paintings are stored. Sarah followed Mrs. Cooper down the hall, the sound of laughter drifting from the study behind them. Bridges were being built, slowly but surely. She just prayed they would be strong enough to withstand what was coming, because even then she could feel something darker lurking beneath the mansion's peaceful facade. The storm hit with sudden fury, rattling windows and setting tree branches scraping against the mansion's walls like desperate fingers. Sarah sat in the twins' room trying to keep their minds off the thunder with a board game, but her attention kept drifting to the darkened windows. Your turn, Sarah. Emma nudged her, then jumped at a particularly loud thunderclap. Lily scooted closer to her sister. Maybe we should get Dad? He's on an important video call, Sarah reminded them, though she'd noticed the house seemed unusually quiet for having security personnel on high alert. The silence beneath the storm's rage made her skin prickle. The lights flickered once, twice, and then plunged them into darkness. "It's okay," Sarah said immediately, reaching for her phone's flashlight. But her phone showed no signal. Neither did the emergency landline by the girl's bed. Emma clutched her bracelet. "Sarah." "Just a power outage," Sarah assured them, but her mind was racing. No power meant no security cameras. No phones meant no communication. This wasn't a coincidence. A floorboard creaked in the hallway, too heavy to be Mrs. Cooper's precise steps. Sarah moved swiftly, switching off her phone's light. "Girls," she whispered, "remember our hide-and-seek spots? The fun ones we found last week." The twins nodded in the darkness, already understanding her tone. "Good. We're going to play a special round. Super quiet like ninjas. Emma, take your sister's hand. Lily, hold on to my sweater. Don't let go." They slipped into the connected playroom just as the bedroom door eased open. Sarah guided them behind the false panel they discovered during their explorations, a remnant from the house's Prohibition era that connected to a network of service passages. Through the thin wall, they heard footsteps entering the bedroom. A flashlight beam swept the space. "Check everywhere," a man's voice commanded. "Harrison's study first. I'll find the brats." Sarah's heart hammered. That had to be Turner. But where was security? Where was Blake? She waited until the footsteps moved away, then whispered, "Emma, Lily, listen carefully. Remember how this passage connects to the kitchen? I need you to." "We're not leaving you," Emma interrupted fiercely. "Together," Lily added, gripping her bracelet. Sarah's throat tightened with emotion, but she forced it down. "Okay, new plan. We'll go together, but first." She pulled them close, speaking barely above a breath. "We're going to help the police find these men. Ready to be super spies?" The girls nodded, fear mixing with determination in their expressions. They crept through the passage, pausing at each intersection to listen. Sarah's mind spun through options. The kitchen had a panic button under the counter. The garage had an emergency exit. Blake's study? A muffled shout from below made her freeze. Blake's voice. "Dad," Lily whimpered. "Shoo," Sarah soothed. "Remember the spy mission? First we get help. Then we help your dad." They reached the passage's kitchen exit. Sarah peered through a crack in the panel. The kitchen was dark, but a flashlight beam swung past the doorway. Someone was searching nearby. Sarah looked at her charges, these precious girls who had become her world. "New game," she whispered. "When I say now, we run to the counter. Emma, you know where the panic button is?" Emma nodded. "Good. Hit it, then straight to the pantry's false back. Lily, you lead the way through. Like we practiced, but for real. Ready?" They gripped their bracelets in perfect sync, a gesture that now meant more than just remembrance. It meant trust, family, courage. Sarah counted down with her fingers. 3, 2, 1. A crash from the hallway, their chance. Now. They burst from the passage. Emma dove for the counter as Sarah pushed Lily toward the pantry. The flashlight beam swung toward them. "Hey!" a man shouted. The panic button's red light blinked to life just as Sarah slammed the pantry door behind them. She heard running footsteps, angry voices. But she was already pushing through cans and boxes to the false back wall, guiding the girls into yet another passage. This one led to the garage, and freedom. Unless, she realized with growing dread, that's exactly what Turner expected. Behind them, the pantry door splintered. Sarah made a split-second decision. "Change of plans," she breathed. "Who's ready to save your dad?" The twins' matching expressions of determination told her everything she needed to know. Lightning flashed through a high window, illuminating their small sanctuary for a moment. 3 pairs of hands touched 3 matching bracelets, a silent pact. Then they plunged deeper into the darkened house, toward Blake's study, while behind them heavy footsteps telegraphed the pursuit that had only just begun. The passage to Blake's study felt endless. Sarah led the girls through the darkness, one hand trailing the wall, the other gripping Lily's small fingers. Emma brought up the rear, her breath steady but quick. They paused at a junction and Sarah strained to listen. Through the walls came muffled voices. "Can't find them anywhere, Turner. Keep looking. Those brats are our leverage. And find Cooper. She knows every inch of this place." Sarah's heart skipped. Mrs. Cooper. Was she safe? Or was she somehow involved? A new sound made them all freeze, footsteps in the passage behind them. "This way," Sarah breathed, guiding them down a narrow turn. The girls moved silently, all those games of ninja hide-and-seek, paying off in this terrifying reality. They emerged through a panel into Blake's private bathroom, connected to his study. Sarah pressed her ear to the door and heard Blake's voice, taut with anger. "Whatever Cooper told you, Turner, it's over." "The audit?" "Shut up." Turner snarled. "You ruined me. 15 years I protected your family, and you threw me away like trash over some accounting mistakes. You stole from children's cancer research." A sharp crack, the sound of a fist meeting flesh. Sarah felt the twins flinch. She crouched down to their eye level, speaking in the barest whisper. "I need you both to be incredibly brave. Can you do that?" They nodded, faces pale but determined in the dim light filtering under the door. "Good. Here's the plan." 2 minutes later, Sarah eased the bathroom door open a crack. Turner had Blake tied to his office chair, while another man, younger, nervous-looking, kept watch at the study door. A third set of footsteps paced the hallway outside. Sarah squeezed the girl's hands and nodded. "Showtime." A loud crash echoed from somewhere in the house, followed by children's laughter. Turner's head snapped up. "Got them?" The man in the hallway shouted. "West Wing." Turner grinned. "Bring them here." The nervous man shifted. "Should I?" "Stay here," Turner ordered. "Watch him." The moment Turner disappeared down the hall, Emma's voice rang out from a different direction. "Dad! Help!" "Emma?" Blake struggled against his bonds. The nervous man spun toward the sound, and Sarah struck. She burst from the bathroom, swinging the heavy marble soap dish she'd grabbed. It connected with the back of his head and he crumpled. "Sarah." Blake's eyes widened as she rushed to untie him. "Girls now," she called. Emma and Lily darted in through different doors, Emma from the bathroom, Lily from the secret panel behind a bookshelf. Their timing was perfect. They'd thrown their voices exactly as Sarah had taught them during ventriloquism practice. "It's an important skill for pranks," she'd said then, never imagining this use. "Security's disabled," Blake reported as Sarah freed his hands. "Turner has a fourth man in the control room. He knew all our protocols." Running footsteps approached, Turner returning. Sarah pushed the girls behind Blake's massive desk. The study door burst open. Turner filled the frame, rain-soaked and wild-eyed. His gaze took in his unconscious accomplice, Blake standing free, and Sarah positioning herself between him and the desk hiding the twins. His laugh was harsh. "The nanny? Really?" He raised his gun. "Step aside, sweetheart. This is between me and Harrison." "No," Sarah said firmly, "it's not. It's about children. The ones you stole from through the foundation and these two behind me. It's about family." "Family?" Turner spat. "Harrison doesn't care about family. He fired me over a few accounting tricks." "You stole from sick children," Blake growled. "I deserve that money." Turner roared. 15 years of loyalty, of knowing every secret, every skeleton. He stepped forward, gun steady. "Did you tell your precious nanny about Project Eclipse? About what really happened to Claire?" Sarah felt Blake tense behind her. But before anyone could respond, another voice rang out. "Put the gun down, Jack." Mrs. Cooper stood in the doorway, holding a familiar silver can. Turner's lip curled. "Really, Helen? Pepper spray? After everything we—" "Now, Thomas." The tackle came from the side door. Thomas had slipped in during the distraction. The gun went off as they crashed to the floor, the bullet splintering the desk. Sarah didn't hesitate. She spun and gathered the twins, shielding them as Thomas and Turner grappled. Mrs. Cooper rushed forward, her pepper spray finding its target. Turner's scream of rage turned to choking. More security flooded in, the real team finally free from the control room. As they subdued Turner, Sarah felt small arms wrap around her waist. She looked down to find both girls pressing close, their faces buried in her sides. "It's over," she soothed, running her hands over their hair. "You were so brave. So perfect." She felt Blake's hand on her shoulder, squeezed it reassuringly. But she didn't miss the tension in his frame when he looked at Mrs. Cooper, or the weight of Turner's words about Claire. As the police finally arrived, their lights painting the storm clouds in red and blue, Sarah held her girls close and wondered, what secret still lurked in this house? And would they threaten this fragile family she'd grown to love? The police station's private waiting room felt too small for the weight of unspoken words hanging in it. Sarah sat between Emma and Lily on a worn couch, both girls finally sleeping against her shoulders after giving their statements. Across the room, Blake paced, pausing occasionally to look at his phone or glance at Mrs. Cooper, who sat ramrod straight in a corner chair. "Mr. Harrison?" A detective appeared in the doorway. "We're ready for Mrs. Cooper's statement now." Mrs. Cooper rose, smoothing her skirt, somehow still impeccable despite everything. But before following the detective, she turned to Sarah. "I suppose I owe you all an explanation," she said quietly. "Especially you, Miss Mitchell. I judged you unfairly from the start." "Helen," Blake warned, but she held up a hand. "They deserve to know, Blake. Especially after tonight." She sank back into her chair, the perfect posture finally cracking. "I've known Jack Turner for 20 years. We worked together in private security before joining the Harrison household. He was more than a colleague once." Sarah felt Blake stiffen, but he remained silent. "When he started acting strangely a few months ago, I knew something was wrong. He kept asking about the Foundation's accounts, about backup codes, about Claire's old files." "Claire's files?" Sarah interrupted softly, careful not to wake the girls. Mrs. Cooper's eyes met Blake's. Claire wasn't just an art teacher. She was developing an art therapy program for the Foundation's pediatric cancer patients. She had concerns about some of the funding allocations. "Turner was skimming from the Foundation even then," Blake said heavily. "Claire must have noticed discrepancies." "Yes." Mrs. Cooper twisted her hands together. "Jack knew I suspected him. He tried to convince me it was just creative accounting, that he deserved more for his years of service. When that didn't work, he threatened to reveal things about Claire's death that would destroy the family." "What things?" Sarah asked, though she dreaded the answer. "Nothing true," Blake cut in sharply. "Claire's car accident was just that, an accident. Turner was trying to create doubts, to distract from his theft." "I should have come forward sooner," Mrs. Cooper admitted. "But Jack knew all our security protocols. I was afraid if he was arrested, someone else working with him might." She glanced at the sleeping twins. "I thought I could handle him myself, protect the family my own way. Instead, I put everyone at risk." Sarah thought about all the times she'd caught Mrs. Cooper watching her with the girls, the way the housekeeper had slowly warmed to her presence. "You were trying to protect them in your own way. Like you did tonight." Mrs. Cooper's smile was tired but genuine. "You know, when Blake hired you, I thought he was making a mistake. Another young nanny who wouldn't understand the complexities of this household. But you saw what I missed. You made this house a home again." A small sound made them turn. Emma had stirred, blinking sleepily. "Is Mrs. Cooper in trouble?" "No, sweetheart," Blake said softly, surprising them all. "She helped catch the bad guys, remember? Like a secret agent," Lily mumbled, not fully awake. Mrs. Cooper's eyes glistened. "I'm so sorry, girls. I should have trusted Sarah from the start. Should have trusted all of you." Emma reached out, her bracelet catching the fluorescent light. "You need one too." "What?" "A bracelet," Lily explained, sitting up. "Like Sarah gave us. For family." Sarah reached into her pocket and pulled out a familiar woven band. She'd started carrying extras weeks ago. "They're right. You're part of this family too, Mrs. Cooper. Even if you're a bit of a tough love aunt." Mrs. Cooper accepted the bracelet with trembling hands. "Helen," she corrected. "I think after tonight you can call me Helen." The detective reappeared, puzzled by the scene before him. "Mrs. Cooper? We really need that statement." "Coming." She stood, now wearing the bracelet. "But first, Blake, tell them about Claire's program. What she was trying to build. It's time to finish what she started." After she left, Blake sank into the chair beside Sarah and the girls. "She's right. Claire's art therapy program, it could help so many children. And now with Turner's theft exposed." He looked at Sarah. "Would you consider, that is, your background in child development, your way with art and children?" "Dad," Emma interrupted with an exaggerated sigh, "just ask her already." Blake actually chuckled. "Sarah, would you help me rebuild the Foundation's children's programs? Not just as a nanny but as program director." Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. "On one condition." "Name it." She hugged the girls closer. "We keep having art classes. All of us. Including Helen." "Even me?" Blake asked softly. "Especially you," Lily said, taking his hand. They sat together, a strange but perfect family unit, their matching bracelets a rainbow of healing, trust, and new beginnings. Outside the window, the storm was finally passing, and the first light of dawn painted the sky in colors Claire would have loved to paint. The Harrison mansion felt different in the days following Turner's arrest. Yellow police tape still crossed the study doorway, but elsewhere signs of healing had begun to emerge. Children's laughter echoed through halls that had too long been silent, and the scent of fresh-baked cookies, Helen Cooper's specialty, wafted from the kitchen more frequently than ever. Sarah sat in the garden watching Emma and Lily paint at their easels while she reviewed the foundation's files with Blake. The documents painted a disturbing picture of Turner's years of theft. He didn't just steal money, Blake said, running a hand through his hair. He was systematically undermining Claire's whole program. Redirecting funds, losing grant applications, sabotaging partnerships with hospitals. Because she was getting too close to his scheme? Sarah asked, studying a spreadsheet. Partly. But the detective thinks, Blake glanced at the girls, lowering his voice. They think he was jealous. Claire was becoming the face of the foundation, connecting with donors, making real change. While he was just the man in the shadows, Sarah finished. She thought about Turner's rage, his obsession with recognition. He couldn't stand that she was succeeding where he wasn't. A splash of paint made them look up. Lily had gotten blue on her uniform, and Emma was laughing, until her sister retaliated with a well-aimed purple streak. Girls, Blake called, but his tone was more amused than stern. Maybe we should save the abstract expressionism for your art smocks? Sorry, Dad, they chorused, not looking sorry at all. Sarah smiled, remembering how just weeks ago such a scene would have earned sharp reprimands about proper behavior. The changes in Blake were subtle but profound. Helen appeared with a tray of lemonade and her signature cookies. Those paintings are coming along beautifully, she said, setting out glasses. Claire would have loved this. Instead of the usual tense silence that followed mentions of Claire, Blake nodded. She would have. Especially. He pulled a folder from the stack. Look what the police found in Turner's office safe. Sarah opened it and gasped. Inside was a detailed proposal for expanding the Foundation's art therapy program nationally, complete with Claire's elegant sketches of child-friendly art spaces in hospitals. She finished it, Helen breathed. All those late nights she spent working, this is what she was doing. The night of the accident, Blake said quietly, she'd just discovered proof of Turner's embezzlement. She was driving to meet with the board chairman when Dad. Emma had approached silently, paint-stained hands twisting her bracelet. Are you sad? Blake drew her close, heedless of the paint transferring to his suit. No, sweetheart. I'm proud. Your mom was trying to help a lot of children. And now we can finish what she started. Lily joined them, peering at Claire's sketches. Can we help? With the art spaces. Actually, Sarah said, I have an idea about that. She pulled out her tablet, opening a drafted proposal of her own. What if we combine Claire's program with a mentorship initiative? Kids helping kids through art. As she outlined her vision, older patients mentoring younger ones, siblings of patients getting support through creative expression, virtual art sessions connecting children across hospitals. She watched Blake's eyes light up with the same passion she'd seen in Claire's sketches. It's perfect, he said. Claire's foundation but evolved. Growing. He looked at his paint-smudged daughters. Just like our family. Speaking of family, Helen interjected, there's something else you should see. She retrieved a package from her apron pocket. Turner's last attempt to cause pain. He mailed this before. Everything. I intercepted it. Inside was a stack of photos, Claire with the twins as babies at Foundation events, working late in her studio. Moments Turner had captured, thinking they'd hurt Blake to see. But they're not painful, Blake realized, watching his daughters explore the images with wonder. They're treasures. Memories we should have been sharing all along. Sarah gathered the girls close as they discovered their mother's smile, her passion for art mirrored in their own paint-stained hands. What Turner had intended as a weapon had become a gift, a bridge between past and present, loss and healing. Dad, Lily said suddenly, can we hang Mom's hospital sketches in the art room? So we can see them while we paint. And maybe, Emma added, we could start a wall of pictures? Of Mom and us and Sarah and Helen and everyone? A family wall. Blake's eyes met Sarah's over their heads. In that look was gratitude, trust, and something deeper, a recognition of how their broken pieces had somehow fit together into something stronger. I think, he said, that's exactly what this home needs. 1 month after Turner's arrest, the Harrison mansion buzzed with activity. The formal dining room, once reserved for business dinners, had been transformed into a temporary art gallery. Children's paintings lined the walls, not just Emma and Lily's work, but pieces from the Foundation's first pilot program at City General's pediatric ward. Sarah stood back, adjusting a frame that held a collaborative piece, a bright sunflower field painted by 6 young cancer patients. Each child had contributed what they could. Some just a brush stroke, others entire blooms, creating something beautiful through shared effort. The board members will be here in an hour, Helen announced, entering with her clipboard. Blake's still on his call, but the caterers are set up and, she paused, noticing Sarah's distraction. Everything all right? Sarah touched her bracelet, a habit she'd picked up from the girls. Just thinking about how much has changed. A few months ago this room was practically a museum. Now it's alive, Helen finished, her own bracelet catching the light as she straightened a display card. Like the rest of the house. They both turned at the sound of running feet, once forbidden in the halls. Emma and Lily burst in, dressed in matching blue dresses for the foundation's presentation. Sarah. Mrs. C. Emma called. Dad's doing that thing again. What thing? Helen asked, though her knowing smile suggested she already knew. He's practicing his speech in the mirror, Lily giggled. And his tie is all crooked. Sarah exchanged glances with Helen. I'll handle the tie, Sarah offered. You make sure the girls don't sneak any more cookies before the presentation? I make no promises, Helen said, winking at the twins. These two are far too clever for me nowadays. Sarah found Blake in his study, no longer a forbidden sanctuary but a warm space where family photos now shared wall space with business awards. He stood before the mirror, fiddling with his tie and muttering under his breath. Need a hand? She asked softly. He turned, relief evident on his face. Is it that obvious? The girls might have mentioned something. She stepped forward, gently batting his hands away from the mangled tie. You know this presentation will be amazing. The program practically sells itself. It's not the program I'm worried about, he admitted as she straightened his tie. I'll be talking about Claire. Publicly. For the first time since. Sarah met his eyes in the mirror. And you'll do her proud. Just like Emma and Lily do, every time they pick up a paintbrush. He caught her hand as she finished with the tie. Thank you. Not just for this but for everything. For showing me how to be a father again. For helping us remember Claire with joy instead of pain. For making this house a home. A knock at the door interrupted them. Helen entered, trying to suppress a smile. We may have a small situation in the kitchen. Someone convinced the twins that the display cupcakes needed quality testing. Blake laughed, a full, rich sound that no longer seemed out of place in these walls. Let me guess, you were the someone? I admit nothing, Helen sniffed, but her eyes twinkled. Though I will say the vanilla ones passed inspection quite thoroughly. As they headed to the kitchen to deal with their sugar-charged charges, Sarah paused to look at the photos on Blake's desk. Claire's painting still held pride of place, but now it was surrounded by new memories. The twins covered in paint after their first art therapy session, Helen teaching them to bake cookies, Blake actually participating in Wacky Science Wednesday. And there, in the center, a candid shot of all of them wearing their matching bracelets, linked not by obligation or tragedy, but by choice and love. The formal dining room would soon fill with board members and potential donors, but the real transformation wasn't in the art on the walls or the programs they'd propose. It was in the sound of children's laughter echoing through once silent halls, in the smell of cookies baking on a weekday afternoon, in the way four people who began as strangers had become something rare and precious. A family bound by love rather than duty, stronger for having been broken and rebuilt. Sarah, the twins called from the kitchen. Dad says we need a professional opinion on the cupcakes. Coming, she called back, smiling as she heard Blake's mock-stern voice trying to negotiate with his daughters over appropriate pre-event sugar intake while Helen not so subtly snuck them more samples. Some might see their family as unconventional, a widowed CEO, his twin daughters, their former nanny turned foundation director, and their once stern housekeeper who now spoiled the girls almost as much as she protected them. But as Sarah headed toward the sounds of her family's laughter, she knew they were exactly what they were meant to be, perfectly, wonderfully themselves. And this, Sarah said, leading a group of hospital administrators through the newly renovated children's wing, is what we call the Rainbow Room. The space that had once been a sterile hospital playroom now burst with color and possibility. Adjustable easels accommodated children in wheelchairs or beds. Storage units held art supplies in every imaginable medium. A massive digital screen on one wall allowed young artists to connect with other children in hospitals across the country. The Harrison Foundation has already implemented similar spaces in 3 other hospitals, Sarah explained, watching their faces light up as she demonstrated the room's features. The results have been remarkable. Not just in emotional well-being but in measurable medical outcomes. Tell them about Jenny, Emma piped up from where she and Lily were organizing supplies. The twins had insisted on coming to work with Sarah today, eager to help with the presentation. Sarah smiled. Jenny is 7, undergoing treatment for leukemia. She wouldn't take her medications until her art mentor, another patient who'd been through similar treatment, helped her paint a superhero story about the medicine fighting her bad cells. Now she reminds the nurses when it's time for her doses. One of the administrators wiped her eyes. And this mentorship program, it helps the older children too? Absolutely, Lily answered before Sarah could. They feel like they're making a difference. Like my mom did. A warm hand touched Sarah's shoulder. Blake had arrived for the presentation. Claire always said art wasn't just about creating beauty, he added. It's about creating connection. The administrators huddled together, speaking in excited whispers. Sarah could already tell they were sold on the program. It was the same at every hospital they visited. Once people saw the impact, the decision made itself. Later, as they drove home, Emma and Lily chattered excitedly about the day's success from the back seat. Blake glanced at Sarah in the passenger seat, his expression thoughtful. You know, he said quietly, when I first promoted you to foundation director, some board members thought I was crazy. She's just a nanny, they said. Sarah laughed. I remember. Though I think Helen set them straight with one of her famous looks. She did. But you proved them wrong all on your own. He gestured to the portfolio on her lap, filled with data showing improved patient outcomes, reduced anxiety levels, faster recovery times. You took Claire's dream and made it bigger than any of us imagined. We all did, Sarah corrected, touching her bracelet. The whole family. From the back seat, Lily asked, can we stop by the art supply store? Jenny's painting session is tomorrow, and she needs special brushes for her weak hand. Already ordered them, Sarah replied. They'll be delivered to the hospital in the morning. You think of everything, Emma said proudly. That's why you're the best foundation director ever. And the best bonus mom, Lily added casually. The car swerved slightly as Blake processed his daughter's words. Sarah felt her heart skip a beat. Bonus mom? She repeated softly. Well, yeah, Emma said as if it were obvious. You take care of us, you love us, you help Dad remember to have fun, and you're continuing Mom's work. Plus, you've got the bracelet. The official family signal, Lily agreed solemnly, then giggled. Even if Dad still can't make them as pretty as you do. Blake's free hand found Sarah's, their matching bracelets touching. They have a point, you know. About all of it. Sarah squeezed his hand, too moved for words. Through the rearview mirror, she caught sight of the twins' matching grins. They looked so much like Claire's smile in the photos, but now that thought brought joy rather than sadness. As they turned onto their street, Helen waved from the front steps. She'd clearly been stress baking again. The smell of chocolate chip cookies wafted down the driveway. Perfect timing, she called. I need taste testers for a new recipe. I'm thinking of teaching it at next week's parent-child baking session at the hospital. The girls scrambled out of the car, racing toward the kitchen with their father close behind, all three declaring themselves volunteer taste testers. Sarah lingered for a moment, watching her family, because that's what they were, bound by love and choice and matching handmade bracelets. She touched the worn threads of her own bracelet, remembering that first day when she'd offered them as a simple gesture of connection. She hadn't known then that she was weaving together not just threads but lives. Creating not just bracelets but bonds that would strengthen them all. Sarah, multiple voices called from inside. The cookies are getting cold. Laughing, she headed inside toward the warmth and love of the family she'd found, and the family that had found her. 6 months after the night that changed everything, the Harrison Mansion's grand ballroom sparkled with life. It was the Foundation's annual gala, but this year was different. Instead of the usual formal affair, children's artwork filled the space, and young artists proudly showed off their creations to donors and families alike. Sarah adjusted her sparkly bracelet, a special version the twins had made for the occasion, matching ones adorning the wrists of every family member. Even Blake wore his proudly with his tuxedo, the colorful threads a bright contrast to the formal black tie. Miss Sarah. A small voice called out. Jenny, their first art therapy success story, wheeled over with her latest masterpiece. Look what I painted for the auction. The canvas showed a garden of flowers, each bloom representing a different person in Jenny's support system. Sarah spotted the sunflower she'd been painted as, right next to the bright roses representing Emma and Lily. It's beautiful, Jenny, Sarah said, kneeling beside the wheelchair. Just like you. She's not the only artist with a surprise tonight, Emma said, appearing with her sister, both girls practically vibrating with excitement. Lily tugged Sarah's hand. Come see. They led her to a covered easel at the center of the room, where Blake and Helen waited, looking suspiciously misty-eyed. Other guests began gathering, sensing something special was about to happen. 6 months ago, Blake began addressing the crowd, this foundation was nearly destroyed by someone who forgot its true purpose. But from that darkness came light. He smiled at Sarah. We found strength we didn't know we had, family we didn't know we were missing, and a new way to carry forward Claire's legacy of healing through art. Emma and Lily stepped forward. We've been working on this for weeks, Emma announced. With help from all the kids in the program, Lily added. They pulled the cover off the easel, revealing a large canvas that made Sarah's hand fly to her mouth. It showed the mansion but not as it had become. Warm light poured from every window. The garden bloomed with Claire's favorite flowers. And on the front steps stood 6 figures, their hands linked by familiar colorful bracelets. That's all of us, Lily explained. You and Dad, me and Emma, Aunt Helen and Mom up in the sky watching over us. Turn it over, Emma whispered. Sarah did, finding the back covered in signatures. Every child from their hospital programs had signed it, surrounding a message written in the twins' careful handwriting. To our bonus mom who taught us that family isn't about who you were born to, but who you choose to love. Will you make it official? Love, Emma and Lily and Dad, who's too nervous to ask himself. Sarah turned to find Blake on one knee beside her, holding not a ring, but a bracelet more intricate than any they'd made before. Sarah Mitchell, he said softly though the whole room could hear, you came into our lives as a nanny and became so much more. You helped us heal, helped us remember how to be a family, and showed us that love only grows stronger when you share it. Will you marry me? Through tears, Sarah saw her whole family watching, the twins clutching each other's hands, Helen pretending she wasn't crying, and even Jenny recording the moment on her tablet for the Foundation's newsletter. On one condition, Sarah managed, her voice thick with emotion. Name it, Blake said. She held out her wrist with the original, now faded bracelet she'd worn that first day. This one stays. To remember how our story began. Deal, Blake laughed, sliding the new bracelet on beside the old one. As he stood to kiss her, the room erupted in cheers, led by Emma and Lily's enthusiastic whoops. Later, after the speeches and celebrations, Sarah found herself in the mansion's garden with her family. Emma and Lily were teaching Jenny their secret handshake, while Blake and Helen argued good-naturedly about whether the wedding cake should be traditional or, as Helen insisted, something the children can decorate themselves. Sarah touched both bracelets on her wrist, the old and the new, the beginning and the future. Above them, stars twinkled in a clear sky, and she could have sworn they formed a pattern like Claire's favorite flowers. Thank you, she whispered to the stars, for leading me here, for trusting me with your family. I promise to keep them laughing, creating and loving just as you would have. A warm breeze carried the scent of roses, Claire's favorites that still bloomed in the garden. Sarah smiled, knowing that love, like art, never really dies. It just takes new forms, creates new patterns, weaves new connections. Like a simple bracelet that starts a story. Like a family that chooses each other. Like a heart that grows bigger with each new person it lets in.